Hello guys and welcome to the new tutorial on how to get better at Black Ops. Now this will be mostly focused around the Blackout side of things, so if you're wanting to get better at multiplayer then this tutorial isn't really for you, and it's only going to be focused around the Blackout mode. But before we get into any of the tips and tricks, make sure you drop a like and subscribe for any more future content. And with that being said, let's jump into it. So, tip number 1 is to use foliage. Now, the foliage in Black Ops 4 is incredibly dense. And what I mean by that is when you're prone down, and you're lying down in the grass and things, it's very hard to see you. And you can use that to your advantage. So if you've got a sniper, for example, then you can lay down in the grass on top of a mountain, and if you're positioned correctly, so you're not on the peak where like half of you is sticking out, then it's going to be very hard for people to see you. And that's good because you can easily be seen in other scenarios. So if you try and use trees, for example, trees are very commonly used. I'll switch to the drawing over here. You can be seen from 3 other directions. So what I mean by that is if you're hiding in a tree, really poor drawing, but like there's you, and you're hiding behind the tree. You can't be seen from this direction. You can be seen from here, and here, and this way as well. So while you think you're hidden, you're actually not, because if there's a guy here, then yeah, sure, he's not gonna see you or anything. But if there's a guy back here, then he will see you, because he has full line of sight into where you are. And that's why I prefer to use things like grass and bushes, because if you're in a bush, then you can be either crouched or proned, and it's going to be really hard to see you. So if you're in a big bush and you're halfway in the bush and there's grass all around, then it's very hard for people to see because the foliage is so dense. So if there's a guy like here, he can't see you because the bush is in the way, so he won't be able to see you. If there's a guy over here, then his view of you is very limited because he can only see what is in this area here, because the bush here is blocking your head and down here is blocking your legs. So if you're crouched, then I find it the best position to be in because it gives you maximum view and very little area to be seen. So you can only be seen in this angle here. And yeah, that's tip number 1. So use foliage to your advantage and stay out of sight. So for tip number 2 is to land in convenient spots. So what I mean by that is while landing in popular areas will get you lots of kills and things like that, while you're practicing and starting out, it's going to be very hard to get that many kills. So I'd advise to stay away from the popular areas and land just outside of it. So what I mean by that is on the map, if you take somewhere like the Hydro Dam, for example, there's a little ring of buildings just outside on either end of the Hydro Dam, and if you use one of them, they normally have pretty much identical loot to what you'd find in the Hydro Dam. There's also a higher chance of meds, and there's even buildings with chests and stuff. Well, not really chests, but like the little crates. And I like using them because when you are just outside of a popular place, there's going to be lots of people coming out of that place, and they're all going to be pretty well looted. And because you are slightly outside of that, you're not in their main firing line, and you're not really known to them. And when they come out of that area, you can see them because the Hydro Dam is actually really based low ground, and the buildings outside are on the high ground, so you have better line of sight. And when you kill them, you can take all of the loot that was inside of there, so meds, ammo, different weapons, different scopes, things like that. So that's why I'd advise to stay outside of it, because only the better players are going to be leaving that area. And if you can focus down the better players, it'll improve not only your chances of winning that game, but also your chances of, it'll also improve your skill as well, because you have to work harder to kill the better players. Alright, so moving on to tip number 3, I recommend collecting perks. So you know the little boxes that have different icons and provide different abilities. So you've got things like Iron Lungs, Awareness, there's also one for healing, and there's one called Paranoia. Use them. They are going to be very useful for you, especially Paranoia and Awareness. What Awareness does is it increases your ability to hear things, so footsteps, gunfire, things like that, so it'll allow you to pinpoint people's location and rough direction, so that you know where the enemies are and you can work around them. And what Paranoia does is it is arguably one of the best ones in the game. And Paranoia basically just means that whenever someone is aiming at you, you hear little voices and whispers. So let's say you're hiding in the bush, yeah? And someone sees you, and you don't see them. If they aim at you with either a scope or just anything like that, as long as they're ADS, which is aim down sights, so as long as they've right clicked and you can bring up the gun, then you'll hear little voices that are telling you that someone is aiming at you, and it will allow you to move out of the way before they take the shot. And it will provide ample warning as to someone has seen you move. Alright, so that's why perks are really good, and yeah, I'd highly recommend them. Alright, tip number 4 is keybinds. Now, if you're coming from different games such as Fortnite, there is very, very different keybinds. So I would recommend using the keybinds that you prefer, and making sure that you have one consistent set of keybinds, so that way when you're switching between games, you're not having to learn new keybinds. So in Fortnite, for example, the crouch is control, yeah? Well, in Black Ops, it's C for crouch, because control actually gets you into prone. So my advice is to redo all of your keybinds and have them consistent across all games. So let's say, for example, that you use the Q button for like throwing a grenade, for example. If you go into another game, make sure that you have the grenade button set to Q. Otherwise, when you go back and forth between games, you're going to be unable to play the game adequately, because you don't know where all of your buttons are, and it's all getting really confusing for you. And that's not good. You have to be very sure about your keybinds in order to play the game properly, pretty much. So that brings us to number 5. Alright, so the 5th and final tip for today is your mouse sensitivity. Now, there is a special thing that they've done for the PC version, and in Battle.net, which is the PC software for all of the Activision games, is the sensitivity settings are identical. So let's say you'd play Overwatch, for example, and you have a really good sensitivity there. Well, that sensitivity is on the same measurement scale as it is in Black Ops. So if you have a sensitivity of 6 in Black Ops, your default sensitivity is set to 12, I think it is. And because they're completely identical sensitivities, if you have 6 sensitivity in Overwatch, then it would be more proficient for you to be playing with a sensitivity of 6 in Blackout, or just Black Ops in general. So yeah. Oh, and another thing, if you're a PC player and you're trying to use a controller, aim assist is disabled on PC no matter what input you're using. So if I was to connect my Xbox controller, let's say, to my PC, then I wouldn't get the additional benefit of aim assist, because otherwise you'd have console players coming to PC with aim assist, and you can't just like laser anyone down or anything. The game won't correct for that. You have to have perfect aim in order to hit the shots, and it will be unforgiving if you're using a controller. So I just wanted to point that out. But anyway guys, that's pretty much going to be the end of the video. If you found the tutorial useful or learned anything new, then leave a like and subscribe. If you have any questions or want to see an advanced guide, let me know in the comment section below. And other than that, I wish you luck, and yeah, thanks for watching.